Hey, it's Kyle, and today let's talk about why you should stop complaining about slave wages in third world countries and why you're a hypocrite if you do. So before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with someone who needs to take care of their money. If you pick up your iPhone and open your browser, you can Google all the atrocities in many places around the world. The lack of human rights, no minimum wage laws, and very few protections for workers. And that, fortunately or unfortunately, is to the benefit of you, the end consumer. You see, we as Americans and others in developed regions of the world benefit tremendously from these slave wages doled out to men, women, and children in third world countries. Now put down your iPhone and examine where these parts were sourced from. Apple contracts out to many companies in these third world countries to help source parts, manufacture, and sometimes assemble their products. And in doing so, these companies, mainly in China and elsewhere where labor laws are often non-existent, hire thousands and thousands of workers to do the work they were contracted to do. They work long hours, have little freedoms, and are paid very little. So little that they are completely reliant on working to even survive, which by definition is called slavery. The suicide rate in one factory was getting out of hand that the contracted company had to place nets in the top floors to catch workers if they ever tried to jump out. And Apple knows this, but their hands are clean because it's the companies they contract work to that are doing this. But that doesn't negate the fact that your iPhone is made using modern slavery. I'll come back to that idea in a moment. Apple isn't the only company that does this. Look down and you'll see those nice shoes you spent $150 on, or even if it's only $30. You do know who made those, right? Almost every piece of physical items are sourced from other countries that pay little to no minimum wages and work their employees to death to produce a product that's affordable for the average American. Let's take a look at sports. For all their social activism about human rights, it's no surprise they're benefiting from modern slavery. Almost 70% of the world's soccer balls are made in Sialkot, Pakistan. During the 2018 World Cup soccer balls were sold around the world at $150 a piece. But the locals in Pakistan making the balls only got 50 cents per ball. And making a soccer ball isn't easy to make. It's labor intensive. A single ball can take an hour and a half to hand stitch, which many of the balls were, all for capitalism. But going back, what is modern slavery? It's exactly like slavery, but you're actually paying your workers, just not enough where they can enjoy their pay at all. It's enough for them to feed themselves and maybe have some place to sleep, but nothing else. Back in the days when slavery was a real widespread thing, slave owners would shelter and feed their slaves because they needed healthy bodies to work the fields. So what's the difference now? Nothing really. They're just letting the slaves pay for their own food and shelter. They still work long hours and are treated like dirt, and they can't just leave. What else could they do? But as a consumer with your nice phone, your soybean lattes, which the beans are harvested from poor countries who break their workers, your expensive shoes and everything you take for granted are probably sourced, manufactured, or assembled by workers paid with slave wages. But this isn't a story about morality and boycotting those things we all like. It's about hypocrisy. If you really can't live without those things we've talked about, then stop advocating for human rights and equal pay. It just makes you look bad when you find out the products you love so much was created by someone who makes only $1 per month. Modern slavery, well, slavery in general, is part of human history. Civilization has benefited from free labor. It began with captured tribesmen being used as slaves, then it was based on race, then children were involved. Then we had to pay our workers, but not too much. Then, when that fell out of fashion in the US, as we've industrialized, we found cheap labor in China and protested from afar. And now China's turning to the US and needs cheap labor of their own. So they source their labor to developing places like Vietnam, Laos, and even parts of Africa. All this sacrifice others had to make, although unwillingly, is for the benefit of us. Now imagine if we paid everyone, even those in developing countries, a fair wage where they can afford a house, a school for their children, vacation days, sick days, health insurance, and retirement benefits. As basic economics tell us, you raise the cost of production, in this case labor, businesses will raise the cost of the product to the end consumer. So let's say a high-end computer was made in Cambodia where they paid their workers $10 an hour instead of $1 an hour. Now it costs 10 times more to build a single computer than it was before. As profits shrink for that company, who are probably beholden to shareholders who have invested their hard-earned money in the company, they need to raise the price of the computers for consumers. Many American-made products are more expensive than their foreign-made counterparts. That's because labor, the most expensive part of production, determines the price. So let's talk about shareholders real quick. You might think they're only millionaires and billionaires who only seek profits and care little of how a business finds it. But that's far from the truth. You are the shareholders of those companies. You own stock in Apple, Nike, Johnson & Johnson, Walmart, Chevron, Exxon, and all those big companies that exploit the labor of third world countries. Through your 401k plans, IRAs, and index funds, you're the shareholders of those companies who you're counting on to give you enough money in stock appreciation and dividends for your retirement. And that's not including that many of you are employees of these companies, directly or indirectly. That's the biggest reason why you should stop complaining about all this. Is it morally wrong that we exploit other human beings for our benefit? Yes, probably, but as long as we're benefiting from it, even unknowingly, and even when you find out but refuse to let go of those things, you shouldn't complain. It's not about capitalism, socialism, communism, or any type of economic system. It's not even about democracy, oligarchies, or monarchies. Each one of them have played a big role in modern slavery, and we all are the benefits of it. So this is something to really consider. If you're truly someone who cares about human rights, you should put down your iPhone and walk away. Tear off those jeans you bought at Walmart, remove those Nikes off your feet, withdraw from your retirement accounts, and live somewhere untouched by modern life. But if you're someone who has more immediate problems and see the benefits of all this, then keep living your life. That's something you should know. So if you want to get tips and tricks on how to better yourself when it comes to your personal finances and your overall view on life, thumbs up this video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell so you stay up to date on when new videos come out. And lastly, I have a book called Inside the Wealth Machine. I go into great detail on how your money really works and ways you can be better at it. If you're interested, the link is in the description down below. Until next time, make some good financial decisions.